you can blow up anybody, even a tank.
Yeah, Arthas has a really hard time being that main initiator, too. He's usually one of those tanks that you want to be the flanker, but with the Dahaka being on the field, he had to fill out that role, and so he get picked off a couple of times, and Nande definitely going to be kicking himself on that one. He's not one to usually just die for nothing. So going into game number 2, let's figure out which battleground we're going to.
Yeah, so one of the things that I also want to see later on is how well they can play when they don't have the Tacita. So first of all, I like that we're having Sky Temple is the map, so that's one. It's again a map where you can play a very strong macro game here. That seems to be something that the Zealots feel comfortable with. But I think a lot of these kills were actually enabled by Tacita in particular. So getting the force wall in, getting these isolations. I'm wondering how this is going to look when they don't have that. And by the way, production, I like it. Sky Temple, that feels like Sky Temple.
It's nice and sunny. I feel like I'm tanning right now, which is kind of weird because I never tan usually. The sun scares me. It's very deserty. All we need is a cactus and we're good to go.
I have this intuition that this is meant to resemble a desert. I don't know where it comes from, but
yeah. Might not be the guy talking in our ears. Shh, this is a desert. Get it out there. Let people know. This is a desert and we look good to go. So all we haven't seen yet is Warhead Junction and Brex's holdout, so...
Yeah, I'm a little bit hyped for Brexis now after you talked it up a bit earlier, so I want to see what the studio looks like if we have Brexis.
We have to really assume it's going to be really poor. That way we don't get over too hyped. Because if you get too hyped, you just won't like it.
I want StarCraft music when it happens.
Ooh, can you do that, Josh? Josh, give us StarCraft music.
All right. Josh can do anything.
Josh is a god. Sky Temple time! Let's go ahead and go into it. On the left side, Vala will be banned out here for the playing Ducks. They intend to keep it away from the Zealots.
As they did in the last game already, so they really seem to not want to play against any type of double support Vala. The Zealots, on the other hand, how are they going to play this? The last time they banned out the Medivh, so they were trying to counter pick Sport Billy. And this is one of the cool things, of course, heading into a league in general. At the beginning, you're banning out a lot of meta heroes, and then as everything progresses, you have more things that you can study, you have more material, more VODs of your opponent that you can look at. And then you're starting to ban out more picks that are targeting individual players on the other side, or you just see, okay, my opponent is comfortable with a certain playstyle, they are relying heavily on dive heroes, for example, so I'm getting rid of a few of those, and then I have a better stance in my own games. But for the Zealots, this is already one of those moments where they're thinking, hey, do we get rid of something like Medivh again, or did something in the last game really stand out to us to an extent where we think it's ban-worthy?
I mean, Falsehead's still a possibility here, but he does get banned out. I think if you do pick him on any battlegrounds, this one could be fine, and maybe Cursed Hollow if you want to go for the risk against a Genji, but Medivh will be the choice. The Zealots will get rid of it, and the playing Ducks will now move over to their first pick. Last time, we saw them move into the Dahaka, and you can't go wrong with it here.
Thing is, Dahaka would also be great, but still Uther is always in the back of your head because you have to worry about him. He's a fantastic enabler, but he can also shut down plays thanks to his stuns after the Benediction on 16 in particular. If you also commit to the Divine Storm, you have just a chain stun forever. So you can make a lot of plays with this. So as you said, you have the global on one hand, but then again, the Uther, it's a really tough choice to make.
I mean, for me too, there's also the Nubrek factor, which I wouldn't mind seeing from the playing Ducks. I feel like in Phase 1, they're a Nubrek gameplay. They just never had the coordination. They never pulled anything off, and Nubrek occasionally died a few times. I want to see if the playing Ducks with the new roster can pull off the Nubrek. It's something that I feel like you have to have under your wing in Europe, or you won't be an effective team.
I would completely agree on this. It seems to be a very European thing with a high priority on the Nubarak. We've actually seen at the mid-season brawl that a lot of teams started to adapt to that, especially the Korean and the Chinese teams. And we have a Nubarak already taken, and they are dropping an early Abathur as well. So this is definitely going to be super interesting right now. Since with Abathur you have Illidan potential, you have the potential to simply head into the Genji if he's not taken by your opponent, which is the case right now. The Ducks adding Global and also Genji to their setup.
Yeah.
But there are still quite a few heroes that do really well with Abathur.
Yeah, and they have to get the Dahaka, by the way, in that rotation. If you're playing against an Abathur, he is going to eventually break you down. You need something that can control those waves, and Dahaka right now is probably one of the best heroes you can pick up for that. There are other options. There's the Pseudo Global with ETC. There's Falstad as well, but those have their weaknesses overall. So Dahaka picked up. There's the Genji, and now the Zealots have to think about their bans. And you were talking about the Abathur clones and what can go well with it. Greymane's always one of those options.
But I say ban Illidan here.
Yeah?
I feel, I don't know, it might just be my personal history looking at players that we have for Zealots, because when they really emerged, we had a lot of them heavily committed to Illidan plays.
Sure.
That might not really be the case right now, but when I think about them and see the Abathur, Illidan is something that pops up in my head. So I might be completely wrong on this. They might prefer to go into the Grey main, but I actually would not mind them going straight for an Illidan ban, because we have seen at the mid-season brawl how much momentum you can build with a good Illidan composition.
Well, it appears the Ducks are starting to agree with you as they are hovering that Illidan. Lane being banned out for the reasons that we discussed last series. Being able to use Disintegrate to burn down a Cocoon can be quite the counter to the Anub'arak, and there's that Illidan ban.
I like that. I like it a lot. I think the Zealots, they have the players that can really make an Illidan shine with the right supports. Abathur already caters towards that. Grey main is still a fantastic tool though, so they can go into the Grey main now, and that's exactly what they do. And they're going very old school with the healer here as well. So we have the good old Abathur, Rhaegar, and then a copy target in the form of Grey main himself.
Rhaegar and Greymane, the dive buddies there, bringing out the heals. The Ancestor healing has to be on point, but so far they look like they might have a possibility of being able to pull it off. There's Dahaka and the Uther stun, but usually you can read that situation. The moment someone falls down to about half health, you want to make sure you bring out that Ancestral. Genji's the only Thorn that I would be fearful of, just because he can have a decent shotgun burst if he's right next to somebody, but still, Rhaegar should be able to pull it off nice and well here for that Greymane.
Yeah, so far I'm actually not really too afraid of what the Ducks have, but I think that their draft is probably going to come. I mean, obviously it's going to come together right now. It's the last two picks.
I hope they pick a 4th or 5th hero anyways.
Yeah, that would be great. If you only play with 3, they have no chance.
Oof,
so yeah, it's going to be rough.
That'd be a statement.
That would be the most disrespect ever when you just say, no, we only need 4 heroes.
We only need these. Yeah, we're good.
4 is fine. But yeah, so I'm a bit curious to see what they are going to do right now, because so far...
Oh, the Psychus. Wow.
It's very reminiscent of the last map.
Yeah.
So, it's the exact same comp with the exception of Uther.
Yeah.
So they really believe in that draft.
Yeah, no Malf instead. So now they get more burst heals available. Also got that armor available. But yes, the exact same comp. Healer switched out. Zealots playing a little bit of a different composition overall, though.
So Zealots more looking towards... I guess we are going to see in the end Tassadar and Abathur switched out. But overall, I think they're going to be really happy with this comp here. And if we now see a bit more on-point damage, then Arthas could find himself again in trouble after a Cursed Bullet play.
Interesting to figure out what they're going to pick up as their final pick. Do you just go for another tank and maybe grab Tyrael and let Greymane do the thing, or do you grab more damage?
I mean, if you wait for the copy fights, you get away with another tank easily, since you have the double Greymane, and they go for the Sonya once more, and that was a lot of the damage that was delivered. And she is also really successful with an Abathur, because once that you hit level 13 and there's so much transference, you can just keep her alive for days, especially if there's no stun on the opponent's side. And there's not too much that I'm currently fearful of, especially since you have a cleanse this time with Rhaegar, so that helps you too.
Yep, pop the Wrath, you move in there, you hit E there. If you can dodge Dahaka, stun, Uther has to bring it out, and at that point, Greymane's like, okay, he can dive in and force a fight, even with an Arthas being on the opposing side. So let's play the who wins draft game, Kaldor. Who would you pick here to walk away with the victory on Sky Temple?
At that point, I have actually to say that I like what Zealot has a lot more. It's a little bit of a different style than what we've seen at the at the mid-season brawl. But I like it. You have a lot of good Abathur targets. You can help out Sonya. You can help out Greymane. You can keep her alive. And with the Rhaegar, Lightning Shield, there's so much AoE going into these fights. You can make a lot happen there. And if you are not caught by Dahaka as Abathur to the top lane, you will just constantly pressure. And I mean, I've seen these players for like years playing, and I really think they have a really good shot at winning this game now. Yeah,
the playing Ducks, I think for this battleground, have a little bit more initiative to come in for fights and be a little bit more grouped up than normal. But you're right, that Abathur effect can really come into effect, especially towards that mid game, and become quite the nuisance if they can't control it. Let's go ahead and get ready for Sky Temple, game number 2. For the moment, the new team in HGC has a lead, 1-0.
And we're going to jump straight into our second game, trying to find out if they can make that a 2-0 or if the playing Ducks say no more. We are going to take you down right now. Chris is once again playing Tychus here for the Ducks to the left. Nanda on Arthas. We have Uther played by Wolfjaw, Sport Billy on Genji, and Eternal on Dehaka.
To the right, and the red Zealots here. Nubarak will be played by Mopsio. Sonia will be played by Zarmia. Poik will be playing Greymane. We're going to have Shad on the Abathur, and Grandpa will be on Rhaegar.
I'm really curious to see how, in particular, Shad is going to play this, because I still can remember that Shad at times, when there were temples up, was just walking with Abathur solely on a temple and just soaking half the temple and more.
That's my kind of Abathur.
Yeah, exactly. So he is very much out there. If he feels he has the space, he's doing these things. And I want to see if that's going to happen again here on the map.
If he does it against a Dahaka, that guy gets full praise from me. The speed that Dahaka has now is so scary as an Abathur player. If you are currently in the middle of a symbiote, you will get picked off. There's no way to stop it. So we'll see if the Zealots will have that aggressive pressure from our Abathur, as he currently sits in the middle of the lane, and we'll have a 3-on-3 in the top lane.
I'm a little bit hyped for this, I have to admit, especially after the first one. This is going to be a really exciting one. So I want to see at this point especially what is going to happen when Sonia gets online here. So we have a lot of heroes on the side of the Zealots that have very good control of the temples. I think the Ducks need to really play around the Dehaka and make sure that they get the side soak, ideally the earlier level 10, but especially towards the second temple phase, I would say they need to make sure that their top lane is getting value.
See if they'll get that value here as Zealots come in for an aggressive play. They're going straight for support Billy. He'll be able to dash out right away. Zealots now pushing in the top here and trading out slightly in damage. We'll be able to start controlling these temples. With 4 people on the top, though, Zealots will need to be careful as Dahaka can rotate in a point because Sonia has moved to the mid lane.
Yeah, so Dahaka has already, as the global, taken the bottom position. That's where he's supposed to be. He soaks the extra wave. Sonia is rotating now down and makes sure that she is not losing out on any of the experience. But overall, the teams are actually starting to fight more so over the top than share the temple. So we could actually end up in a really interesting scenario here. Oftentimes in the early game, you see just a simple trade. There comes the stun after the Haka drag, but Mopsio is down. Nubarak taken away. Trying to just stun out the Haka before he gets the drag against Greymane, but that of course exposes himself. And that's the first kill in the game, and the Ducks with the lead.
Ducks with the lead as they answer back, putting all 5 people on the top. Abathur will take the time here to rotate bottom and push in that lane with his body and start adding up his teammates here. As Poik goes in for Etherno, getting him low. Rhaegar trying to get a bite, but Etherno turns around and grabs the drag. Rhaegar could be in trouble.
Yeah, Grandpa.
Wow.
No way. I was actually very surprised that Grandpa went in this deep, because it was only a matter of time until Dehaka would turn around and try to get the drag. So I think that was a bit sloppy. They were thinking they could take him down, but that nearly backfired. And the Ducks are walking away with a massive experience lead right now. And that has to concern Zealots here quite massively, since Arthas was at the top lane dropping towers in the meantime.
Ducks will be feeling good about where they're at right now. Nande comes in for a flank, and they're looking towards Zarmini. Grimpa will come in for the heal, but Zarmini continues to get low. Mopsia bringing out the burrow charge and trying to get damage on Wolfjo in particular, but with a rush shot coming in, the playing Ducks are committed, and Mopsio may die again.
Mopsio dies once more, and this is starting to become a problem. Everybody's low, and there's another kill. This is 3 already, and we are an entire level ahead on the side of the Ducks. And the worst thing about it is that temple hasn't been soaked yet. The Zealots are, at this point, they could lose everything here. Let's just be absolutely clear. If they lose now out on the temple, which is the case, and then they are not able to pick up the experience they need to defend the bot lane once the temple spawns, they might get snowballed hard in this game. They desperately need to make some plays here.
Especially because making that experience up is going to be pretty difficult with Abathur being around. I don't see a world where we're going to start getting in those kills and getting those fights. Uther coming online at that level 7, and with that temple, as you mentioned, the bottom popping off, if playing Duck Soak appropriately here, they can get towards 10, and we've seen the play in the past where you go straight in for that boss and you push the bottom lane.
The Ducks at this point should just simply try and push through the bot lane and get the fountain. That's one of the things that they should definitely... I mean, they have the earlier level 7. They're an entire level ahead. They find themselves in an awesome spot. They can soak, they can push. If they go and take a few structures at that bot lane, they have a chance of even working towards a level 10 around the time that the objective is on the map. They get a kill here, that would be the worst case scenario. And Nubarak is actually diving really deep, apparently just double checking if the camp was maybe prepared but not taken.
Yeah, I saw a few people rotate to the top here and was expecting them to maybe move in for the Knights, but they were deciding to actually just go in for a fight. The Ducks looking to get in their aggression as much as they can here, while Abathur is left alone in the bottom right to deal with that giant pressure, which will be a pain for him. At some point, someone needs to rotate in and help him. And the Zealots are doing so as Greymane and crew will move in. So good. They're defending here, but still behind the full level.
Yeah, an entire level, and this is devastating for them because Dehaka is doing his spiel up at the top lane. He's going to get this one easily. The camp that they're now taking could even potentially just push through the fort itself. They're closing in on 9. The temple hasn't even been announced yet. At least the Zealots are getting some counter experience by dropping structure at the bot lane. I like that they're putting heavy pressure onto the lane here. But the top lane alone is doing so much work for the Ducks that I'm very much afraid for the Zealots.
Yes, that's where I'm scared there, because that fort in the top right could probably die with that.
That was good. That was important. Take the fountain down. That was a great play. So even if you're behind in experience, that at least gives you the sustain advantage on the lane when the second temple spawns.
But 9.5 is here for the Ducks. They are definitely going to be in level 10 pretty quickly here. Sport building in the middle, soaking. Top lane's being pushed by Dehaka. You can rotate at any point. Somebody's going to move in. I think the Zealots at this point give up the temple and just soak. Do what you can here. Mule being popped out, which is good here. This makes it a bit harder for the playing Ducks kind of all in.
Yeah, Spear cannot interrupt here. So, you're completely right. Let the bottom temple go. You have no real chance to make anything happen here. We need to just soak. So, in this case, they are going to try and soak the top lane. Ideally, destroy a structure or two. If a tower is, for example, low, they might try and burst that down and gather some extra experience. But overall, they are at least in experience range again. But the level 10 is, of course, an issue for them.
Opsio taking some damage here. We'll dodge out on the Howling Blast. The Ducks, while they have 10 here, not getting too much done. Yes, they have Dog in the bottom, sieging away, which is natural, but typically here is where you make that call to move in for a boss or even go in for a fort in the middle lane, but they just danced around. They actually rotated to the middle, grabbed experience, and rotated the top as a unit of 4. Ducks kind of missing out.
That's the one thing that I could have actually seen happening, that they go for the boss instead, which they don't do just now. So that was a bit of a surprise, because with the early level 10 they could have made that play, but they decided against it, maybe just being a bit afraid to being caught there. But for now we have the 10 online, and this is really where it happens, because now we're having the copy potential, we're having the curse bullet against that front line, and we have the cocoon when they are starting to dive in deep. Still a level behind, but the Zealots now have potential for fights.
They do, and they're on the right side themselves here. And sorry, I'm just a little bit confused on the playing Ducks movement. I really felt like they'd make a more aggressive play, and I'm kind of disappointed that they did not. Zealots do move in here on the left side. Nande will see them, and they're going to be able to continue dancing. And this is all maneuvers that you do as a unit of 4 once you hit level 10. You push in, you look scary, and you force the playing Ducks to kind of group up in that area, which allows Abathur to get hats in the top lane and the middle lane. And right now, Abathur, using his hat in the top, has already been pushing in. There's minions that will be missed.
Yeah, Abathur with his body is playing very defensive, by the way, especially since he, of course, knows that the big threat, Dehaka, is somewhere on the map looking for him. So Dehaka already moving in here, wasting his scene, not getting any value out of this. Using the burrow too. So that's a bit of a, could be a bit of a problem. It would also allow Abathur to go to the top lane, and he does do that immediately, so I love this. We just saw it on the mini-map. We had Shat immediately upon seeing Dehaka at the bot lane, going to the top, saying, okay, I can push this.
And he's actually earned back a decent amount of experience. Look, they were a full level behind, now they're about a half a level tops. That's actually been great here. He soaked the top lane, the middle lane as well. Ethernal's going to miss out on some of the minions in the top as the fort clears that out, and Zealots will take the opportunity while Dehaka's rotating to push bottom.
Look how active Abathur is here. Shat is a fantastic Abathur player, and what he just did is he saw Dehaka bot lane, he burrows to the top, puts some extra pressure on the structures there, soaks a bit with his body, and once that he realizes that the Ducks are starting to move top, he just bees back into his own base, walks to the front, starts to drop the locusts again, and once he has his Z up, he can just simply say, all right, let's see where I need to go just now. So I really like the way that he's currently running this.
Not taking away from the playing Ducks, though. They still are in a good spot as they push in the top. They're working on a fort, and they are in a chance here to get a second fort taken down and potentially a third if they can grab the temple in the middle. Zealots will have Zarmany in the bottom, clearing out that temple for now, but he is willing to rotate in the moment the Ducks show any indication they want to fight. And the fight potentially will break out here. Zealots should wait a little bit longer, get that 13 with the minion wave or 2, but they can contest as soon as they hit the 13.
I think Zarmany just made a bit of a mistake in rotating to the top. They should have just stayed on the bottom temple until they hit the 13, and they could have even exchanged. I think they have the advantage with Mule in this situation. But for some reason, the Ducks are not really willing to fight here just yet. They are just posturing around, at least for now. 13 should drop soon. Abathur will deliver that, and there we have it. So now they just need to wait until they feel they can take the fight, go for the copy, and engage. But the Ducks are playing a very, very calculated and passive game.
They have to know 13 be in there, but I would like to see them go then when it was 13 to 12. But you do always have to worry about that cocoon. Again, it's one of the scariest things you can have. If you overextend slightly, Tychus has to move forward and bring out that auto attack, which allows Sonya to be more effective. The Ducks continue to rotate, but the Avatar effect is really kicking in. Look how close he had experience. Now a quarter of experience behind.
Yeah, I actually think that also when it comes to the mule, Shed is actually making a few mistakes. We can talk about that in a second, because now we have the engage. Nice, going for the Haka, dropping him. Curse Fuller being used in the cocoon in the back as well. Ancestral on Zarmany as they heal him up once more. Shed on the copy, delivering a lot, but eventually taken out. So now the top lane still pushing, by the way, to the camps. The bot lane position taken, thanks to the Haka being eliminated. The Zealots are gaining momentum, and they're starting to take the lead in experience.
Yes, this fort will fall. There's minions in the top. 10 tickets for Dahaka shows up. Abther is soaking 2 lanes at a time. And you're right, the experience continues to be in a great spot for them.
Now here's one of the things where Shad is not really playing it quite optimal. He's not really using Mule every time the cooldown is up, so they don't get as much value out of the level 7 talent as they could. And I also didn't really like that he dropped it into the mid lane, because there was nearly no hit points left on the fort, and we already knew that there is a temple at the bot. So if he would have dropped the Mule top, he would have got maximum value out of the mule, whereas in the mid lane, it did absolutely nothing. So this is something, if he plays it a bit differently, he can negate a lot of the power of the objectives that the playing Ducks take.
Yeah, think about the temples and the locations where the shelter come from.
I mean, we're nitpicking here, but still, it starts to add up in the late game, so it's one of the things where he could even do a better job. But now we have the mule at the top, if I'm not mistaken, so this is going to help quite a bit.
Yep, there it is, working overtime, healing up that fort. If they soak this, they can move towards 16, get the mercenaries pushing, and they are in a spot where they can start to be on even footing in infrastructure and experience. The Ducks clearing at the bottom for these Giants, but Dahaka always under pressure here.
I also like how explosive the Zealots are when they go for these kills with Greymane. It's really well coordinated. We saw that on the last map already. They did the exact same thing. They see a target, call it, and drop everything on it and usually burst it down. So that was really well done against Dahaka earlier. But by now we are basically even when it comes to the talents. And I would say in structures we are very even as well. Maybe even a bit of a lead for the Zealots if they can burst through one of those forts. Doesn't look like they're going to do that. I really love how Dahaka is playing the map, though, because he's pushing everything in right now.
Yeah, the last couple minutes have been really good for him overall. Thurnal making sure to stay on point. The temple now activated in the top here, which will be good pickings for the forts if they can be grabbed. And this is where the Dahaka versus Abathur game becomes really volatile. How is Dahaka going to handle the pressure on the top lane while Abathur continues to soak in the different lanes here? I'm looking in the middle, and Sport Billy is jumping around. He scouts out Mopsio. The only thing that I would like to see a little bit more from the Zealots is maybe a little bit more aggressive pressure on the Cocoon. They haven't really forced anything yet.
Well, they are going to do that now with the Temple. I also love the hybrid build that we have for Abathur, by the way. Going heavily into Toxic Nest, but the Soma Transference to keep Sonya and Greymane safe. And even the movement speed, which is a great tool for engage and disengage. The only issue that they have is still that the Haka pushing the bot lane, but they're going in once again, trying to jump on the Arthurs here. Copy is in, Cocoon already used.
They are moving in here. Mopsio on the right side. The copy is about to be burned down. Shad doing as much as he can here. Odin popped from the back left side in the playing. Ducks have won this team fight. Zealots, aware of it, do pull away for the moment.
I don't think they can really fight here any longer.
They shouldn't.
This is really tricky because Chris didn't even have to use his Odin until the copy was already down, and that is definitely a problem. The mid lane is still heavily pressured thanks to the help of Abathur, and that is going to cost them another fort that's going to fall any moment now. But the Temple, that is of course the big issue.
The Temple continues to be controlled here against Mopsio on the left side. Goes in for the engage. Ancestral healing also being used as Nande starts to fall low. Chris also taking damage. Zarmany on the back line is full of health here with an Abathur hat.
Zarmany is going ham here. Wow, and especially with the Soma Transference on the Symbiote, he is absolutely alive. So they soak a few more of the shots, and they are now in a spot where they actually managed to take down the forts of their opponent as well. Again, when it comes to structures, the Zealots are in a very good spot, especially since they have Mule. It's much, much harder to attack a keep than a fort. You have to commit way more, go way deeper into enemy territory. So it's not going to be as easy for the Ducks to burn structures down that are already on low health. And it's easier for Abathur to defend them and then to repair them with a Mule. So this is really where most of the value is going to come from.
And the Zealots have an experience lead now, Caldor. 18 to 17.5. The Zealots are moving towards 20 faster than their opponent. opponents. Out they're keeping up with the rotations. They're keeping up in the mercenary camps too, and they're willing to move in for an aggressive fight at any point. Nande's coming in for a flank on the top left, but look at Mopsio. He spotted him already, and the Zealots can play safe.
Shad with his Avatar is topping every single category. Siege, hero damage, experience, he's doing fantastic here right now. And he just showcases once again what a great player he is. And he has even more experience delivered than Dehaka, who of course is currently trying to somehow mitigate and push these lanes back. But down here, Dehaka coming in again. Does he get the drag? I think he could have...
He used it, but the cleanse came out from Rhaegar.
Ah, okay, my bad.
Rhaegar keeping them alive here. The Zealots willing to disengage from the fight. Ultimate Evolution being up. Curse Blow was actually used on Arthas to put him down to half health, and that's when the Playing Ducks decided to come in for the engage, so the Zealots just walk away.
Okay. That can't be intentional. All right. I accidentally triggered it. I was about to say there's no way they're going to go for this. Nande's low. Bullet hits him hard. Ancestral on Mopsio. And they are still trying to go for him. Mopsio is moving away, and here comes the copy on Greymane as they're going in, trying to get Chris.
Can they get him here? Cocoon being used at the same time, and they're looking for Eternal as well. He's low on health. Nande taking damage. Odin popping the back left, but Uther will fall. Uther going to top off Ember Zone at the right time, and Zealots are taking the moment to disengage. Sport Billy came around. He got a reset.
Mopsio down, and that's a big problem for them. So Mopsio falling makes sure that they don't really have a big front line anymore. Zarmany is still there, though, and if Abathur helps out, there's a lot that they can do with this. They're trying to go for Nande. The Curse Bullet hits, and it hits hard. Zarmany is there. He will drop him, and he does, but Dehaka is back to business and goes for Grandpa.
Grandpa being taken out. Thurno goes to the bush here to continue running around. Poik on the right side here. Sport Billy low on health at the same time. Zarmany continuing to stay alive with the hat, but here comes the strike, and Sport Billy getting the kill. Can he get another? He gets it.
He nearly got the kill against Sport Billy, Greymane that is, but he's not quite able to deliver. Both of the teams closing in on level 20, and that's going to be a massive power spike for both of them. Zealots in particular, but right now there's 2 temples on the map, and this is an easy pick for the Ducks.
Both teams incredibly close right now, but the Playing Ducks with the slight advantage as they're about to hit 20, but also have members up to soak both of the temples that are available, both in the middle and the top lane. They're going to be start looking for keeps.
Yeah, and in both of the games so far, we have actually Mopsio with a bit of a rough time here in the last fight. But it was a really cool engagement from them. Now 20 is delivered on both sides. And this is really where Mule is going to start and get quite some value if they can keep a few of these structures alive. Mopsio is already attempting to just buy a bit of time as he rivals Genji on the spot here in the mid lane. Gets the stun in, and Abathur can just simply start dropping the Mule and try and keep those keeps in the game. Yep,
this middle temple a little bit more important there. You don't mind if you lose out on that top right side, especially with Abathur, but again, as you get closer towards that boss lane in the bottom, it makes it easier for people to push in. So Mopsio delaying as much as he can here. Will burrow charge away as Sonya and Greymane will spawn. Now, will the Zealots turn up the heat and go for an aggressive play right away?
They definitely can right now. And Dehaka knows it too. Here comes Odin, so they can either disengage at this point and simply rotate, or they can take the fight. But Chris is firing away, and he is doing work. Dashing forward now as well. Top has already completely been soaked. There's also a camp on the way, so they have to deal with this one. But yeah, Mule is going to get serious value here.
Yeah, it already did. It saved that keep in the top right for a bit here, and they're going to go ahead and have 2 keeps that are low on health but still alive, so that Mule can kick in.
They're afraid of boss play right now. They would love to deep push the top, but they don't know where the Playing Ducks are. They don't have the vision on the map, so they have to assume that there's a potential that is going to be able to sneak in at the boss. It's very unlikely, but with the Toxic Nest, they usually know about the rotations, but they just make safe here for now. But this is one of the cool things about Abathur and the setup, by the way, that he gives you the vision about rotation. You know what's happening. Their problem is really that Dehaka is going to deep push the top lane now and put the pressure onto the keep.
Maybe looking to do that here. Mule's been dropped in the middle for now. That will go ahead and heal up that keep for the moment. And there's 2 things that the Zealots can do here. They can kind of sit passively and let Abathur defend top, or they can force a fight to pull Dehaka away from pushing that top lane.
They can't let Abathur take care of the top lane. That's never going to work. So they have sent Sonya back. The problem isn't really the wave. The problem is the camp. And Dehaka can go in too. So they send them back already. They have a camp on their own at the bot lane, by the way. So it's not like only the Zealots are under pressure here. The same is also true for the Ducks. They need to make sure that they are defending the bot lane. If not for that, they might have tried to make a play at the boss, but it's actually the Zealots that seem to be eager to start it here. Are they actually trying to commit to it?
Taika is showing in the bottom here, and Dehaka showed in the top. They know that they can maybe start poking in and get their opponent to bait into a fight. Taika continues to clear on the bottom side, and they decide not to move in. Seems a bit ill-advised to throw it all on one boss here, but there is a breaking point. It's going to connect for our team soon.
Okay, so with the temples now being up, Zealots should try and focus on the mid-temple, because if it's taken by the Ducks, they're going to lose a keep. The bottom one is not really that important just now, because it's going to take down their towers first. But this is really starting to get close for both teams. And the cool thing, of course, for the Zealots is that Abathar can still push these lanes with the symbiote, and this is exactly what he's doing the entire time.
It's a game of centimeters right now, Caldor, as our teams continue to dance back and forth. We have Sonya on the top left, as Harmony moving in. Sportbilly will dash away from the fight, but big red button has been popped here as Odin starts to move in.
Yeah, so they're starting to try and take the temple here, and this is the important one that is going to drop the keep any second now. Yeah. They're already too late, so this one is going to be lost. They lose the keep in the mid lane, that's an issue. Genji gets some damage as Sonya moved in. Abathar still attempting to push the bottom, but he's going to copy very soon and try to go for the fight here. There's the copy as we have Zealots going in.
They're moving in here. They're doing it towards the end of the duration of Chris's Odin. It's got a few more seconds left on it. Sportbilly on the left side going for Mopsio. Mopsio's low on health. He has to burrow charge away from the fight. Sportbilly using the Dragon Blade, hoping to burn down the clone.
Ancestral not used yet. Sportbilly is low and he's falling. Sportbilly down, Genji down, that's huge. If they can take down Uther as well, that would be fantastic. That's the first kill. Redemption is of course a thing, and they won't be able to take him down the second time as he moves behind the gate.
Just go straight boss, right? Without Genji being on the field, if you control the Tychus, you're fine. They put mines down everywhere, and yes, they move in for it. They're going straight for the boss with Greymane here and Rhaegar. They're going to burn it quick.
Shrines alone are not going to be enough, so yes, they definitely need to go for the boss here, and they will get it. We already have Mopsio splitting down to the bottom. The problem is that the top might actually deliver the second keep into the hands of the Ducks, and I think that's what's happening here. So Zealots need to end.
Mule too late once again. That seems to be a recurring theme here. Mule finally will not be able to save that keep, and now it's pretty much all in, it feels like, for the Zealots.
I guess you don't have to end immediately. I would even keep Abathar. Abathar should probably try and soak a few shots of the temple at the bot lane. I think that's what he's doing right now. Or is he? Just taking position now. They need to really do work here.
They're working on it. Chris is going to pop the Odin here. Start up with the delays. They move in for the aggressive play. Cocoon is available for Mopsio. If he can get it on anyone important, it could be good for his team. Sportbilly does spawn to move in.
That's the keep. So now we have the Ducks back in 5. They need to defend here somehow. Cocoon is being used. They're just going for it. They're simply going for it. They're trying to get a kill here as well. But they're going for the core. They're just trying to get enough damage, and I think they can actually pull it off. The boss has so many hit points. The core drops down to 40, to 30. The first one down, but it's not enough. The core is falling. Zealots take game number 2 against the Playing Ducks with a pretty Hail Mary move down at the bot lane after taking the boss.
Yeah, double Greymane, the Ultimate Evolution clone, and Sonya there with the Hardened Shield. Just enough with the aided boss, and they move in. The Ancestral Healing, by the way, was important. It really kept the members alive there to keep their dream up. And the Zealots up 2-0 over the Playing Ducks. Caldor, were we expecting this today?
No.
Not even a little bit there.
Not quite.
Yeah. Absolutely crazy here as the Zealots continue to do well, and it's pretty awesome actually. The entire game, it felt like these two teams were neck and neck the entire duration until the end hit.
Yeah, but I was impressed after the first map, but having them with a 2-0, this is crazy strong, because we've been talking about the Ducks, and we've been talking about how they, in the last phase, were doing extremely well. What do we have right now? Eternal, one of the best mechanical players in the lineup, and then just overall improving, having different roles, and just looking very crisp. And in these games, it was just the Zealots running the show.
The Zealots hope to continue running the show here, and we'll see if the Playing Ducks can make a comeback, or if Zealots will win it 3-0. We'll be right back.
When I was young, I lived a life of recklessness. In my selfishness, I inflicted pain